Here's something that Joe, my editor with the mostest, shares about Pete Buttigieg. And this is an opinion piece from Truthdig. And it's hinting that, Buttigieg has seen a surge in popularity. He's also seen a surge in billionaire dinners. I'm sure those two things are completely unrelated. I'm sure that money in politics doesn't really matter that much. And I'm sure that all the money he's getting has nothing to do with the fact that he is polling slightly higher. I'm sure those two things are totally unrelated. I'm sure it has everything to do with that incredibly inspiring Panic at the Disco dance. I'm sure that's all it is. But apparently that popularity is fading a little bit, according to this opinion piece. Corporate media can't understand why voters don't like Buttigieg. So after polling averages showed him as a front runner in the Iowa and New Hampshire Democratic nomination contest, journalists predicted South Bend, Indiana mayor and presidential candidate Pete Buttigieg would be in the hot seat at last month's debate in Atlanta. Everyone's going to come for Pete. He faces the spotlight, declared Politico. All right, blah, blah, blah. But despite having a black moderator and being in a majority black city, the MSNBC Washington Post debate only directed a single vaguely worded question about Mayor Pete Buttigieg's outreach to African-American voters to Kamala Harris, with Buttigieg never being directly asked about the Intercept's report that his campaign fabricated endorsements from prominent black leaders in South Carolina. Yeah, they never asked him about that. The alleged Buttigieg boom may now be crumbling under this candidate's stubborn opacity around his funders and great swaths of his career, as well as the entry into the field of fellow smug centrist Michael Bloomberg. We got another smug centrist here. We got a smug centrist to compete with the other smug centrist, which, by the way, is a perfect description for both of those candidates. Michael Bloomberg, Pete Buttigieg, smug centrists unite. Such as it was, the phenomenon was largely based on two small white states early in the primary process. Buttigieg showed few signs of breaking out of fourth place, either nationally or in larger, more diverse states like California. Yeah, in California, he's not all that popular, but he does get a lot of Hollywood-funded dinners there. He does get a lot of, like the Hollywood elite. They'll have him for dinner. They'll throw some money at him, see if it sticks. Amidst the voters, not so much. And here's a couple quotes. The corporate media have a practice of outsizing the attractiveness and viability of centrist candidates, including shielding them from critical examination. And here's a quote from Politico that this piece highlights. Before suggesting his early wins might put him in their crosshairs, Politico's Jack Schaefer had explained media's coddling of Buttigieg's candidacy by relating it to the favorable treatment of corporate media's previous political shooting star, former presidential candidate Beto O'Rourke. Why the media dumped Beto for Mayor Pete, offered a self-conscious list of press-attracting qualities, plays a decent piano, once gave a TED Talk, an old person's idea of what a young person should be like. None of those things have anything to do with policy, by the way. None of those things, not one of those things has anything to do with policy. Oh, he plays the piano, he speaks languages, he talks nice, he's appealing to old people. They kind of like him. He's what they want a young person to be like. None of these have anything to do with policy. None of these have anything to do with the fact that he said on Twitter in 2018 that he supports Medicare for all, has completely flipped on that. He doesn't support Medicare for all. He supports the status quo when it comes to healthcare. He supports the status quo when it comes to the military. In fact, he's a war hawk himself. He barely learned how to be a mayor. Now he's trying to be president. He didn't do anything about a racist police force in South Bend. And you know what? According to some folks on Twitter, didn't do anything about the potholes either. And he's running for president. And I guess his popularity is slipping a little bit amidst voters because, like Beto O'Rourke, he doesn't offer anything. He offers nothing. And the more you dig into this guy, you find the less there is to like. He's an establishment darling and nothing more. And guess what? We live in an anti-establishment time. This is an anti-establishment time. That's part of how Trump won. Trump sold this lie, and it's a lie, but nonetheless, Trump sold this lie that he was the anti-establishment dude. He was outside the system. He was breaking the mold. And enough people gambled on that. Enough people were like, well, maybe, okay. I mean, I'm tired of the Washington status quo as usual. I'm tired of, I voted for Obama, got my hopes up. My life didn't get any better. My life didn't get better under Clinton. My life certainly didn't get better under George W. Bush. I'm tired of the Beltway. I wanted an outsider, and they took a chance on Trump. We're still in that outsider time. So only an outsider can beat him. And that outsider sure as hell isn't Pete Buttigieg, because Buttigieg is as far from an outsider as you can get. He even said when he was point blank asked, hey, man, are you going to not take all these billionaire donations? He just said no, all smugly. Smug centrists unite. So I guess we'll see what happens. I mean, we're heating up. But as this article points out, people are making it out like Pete Buttigieg is surging. Really, he's just getting a bunch of money thrown at his campaign. And he's not really gaining a ton of footing nationally. He's still in about 4th place. But CNN will tell you it's a strong 4th. Joe, thank you for sharing that.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your